Hi everyone, I'm Claudia and welcome back to another episode of the Build Now podcast. We're here sharing powerful stories of families and kids facing incredible challenges, giving you the chance to meet the amazing individuals that you're supporting and hear their stories firsthand. In each episode, we're sharing heartfelt conversations, discussing real and raw experiences and showing you the true impact of your generosity. Our goal is very simple here: to inspire hope, to raise awareness and keep building a brighter future for those who need it most. And today we're joined with Jade.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming, Jade.
That's
It's so
fine.
nice to have you join us today and to be willing to share your story. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Pleasure. No, it's like I said, it's great being able to inspire other people and hear about your experiences is what's really going to raise awareness about, all of this. So
Yes.
we originally met through the Build Now Foundation.
Yep.
But if you could maybe share some of your story with our listeners and give them a bit of history into your situation and to your little boy, Reed.
Yes. So, my story starts when Reed was 6 months old. So he's now 4.5. He was diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma, which is like one of the worst brain cancers you can get. That was where it all started. He was before that completely healthy, hitting his milestones, and literally overnight it was like in an ambulance, diagnosis, and then all went downhill. Obviously the cancer was like the start of the journey, and then 4 years later we're still on that journey, but a different one. It's what happens after the cancer. So like all your epilepsy and your, being wheelchair bound and nonverbal, those are sort of the challenges we're facing like now rather than the cancer. So, yeah.
Right, so it's all those different things that come along with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And how old were you when you had Reed?
So I was 21 when I had Reed. So a baby.
Being 21 years old, having a baby is already young.
I was having a baby that then got sick. So,
oh my goodness, to go through all of that.
Yeah.
And what were your at such a young age, initial reactions? You said he was 6 months old.
Yeah.
First of all, what were the things that you noticed that were a little bit different?
It was so like minor. Like honestly, he was my first baby, so I didn't really know what I was doing anyway. If it hadn't been for my mum and dad kind of being like, he seems slightly off, I wouldn't have even taken him into hospital because he was just like a 6-month-old teething baby, and I was like, he's all right, like whatever.
So was it his development that was
No,
off?
he literally just started leaning his head a little bit to the side, and he had a lump come up on the side of his head. But I'd taken him to the doctors about the lump, and they were like, oh, no, it's just from traumatic birth. It's fine. It'll go away. So I'm like, okay, doctor's told you something. Take it as it is.
When wouldn't you listen to the doctor?
I would listen to it. He wasn't like vomiting. He wasn't showing any other symptoms. And then he started tilting his head, which was like very late, like just before he was diagnosed. And they thought he had an ear infection. So it genuinely, if we hadn't have had the doctor we'd had that day, we were in Peel, like Mandurah Hospital, he would be dead, like 100%. She was an oncology doctor before she worked in general. So she kind of was looking, I guess, for what other doctors might have kind of overlooked.
Yes.
And she was like, I'm just going to send him for an ultrasound of his head just to check there's no fluid on anything.
Yeah.
Just rule everything out. And then as soon as, she came back in the room, I knew straight away something was wrong. She was like, you need to sit down. And I was like, oh, okay. But that wasn't the diagnosis. That was just something's not right. We're going to transfer you to PCH, but, it's bad sort of thing.
You need to have a look. And so what happened from there? You went to PCH because you were in Mandurah, you said?
Yeah, so we initially were in Peel, and so, they literally threw us in an ambulance and, lighted us straight up to the hospital, and we got through ED, and it was like everyone was in the room. It was like neurosurgery, neurology, oncology, like everyone came straight in and was like introducing themselves, and it was like, whoa, like we've just gone from having like a completely normal child to now we're in this hospital. We were there, and then they wanted him to go in for an MRI the following morning. So they kept us in overnight. And then he was in, that day, the following day. And the neurosurgeon had already come down and said, if there's, it'll be fine. I'll see you the following day because I'm in surgery that evening. And I was like, yep, no worries. And, he had the MRI. I went and got him, went back to the room, and she was stood there. And I was like, she's not meant to be here. She's meant to be in surgery right now. So I seen her and I knew straight away. I was like, this isn't good. she's here.
And what was sort of going through your mind when she sort of told you the news?
Oh, it was just weird. Like your whole body goes, it's like a movie. Honestly, it's like a movie because she was like, you need to sit down. Straight away when a doctor said you need to sit down, it's not good. Yeah. We sat down and she just looked at me and was like, it is brain cancer. And I remembered it literally is like that noise, that like white noise, like that, and you're like, what is happening?
So surreal. I know what you mean because I've experienced it when something happens. It's so surreal. You can't and so shocking.
Yeah, you're like, that's not happening to me right now.
You almost feel like, is this my life? Yeah, is this actually happening? So you go into like a weird state of shock, and I wasn't really hearing anything after she said that he had cancer. Like everything else was just like a big blur. And then it wasn't until she like sat me down and showed me the actual scan on her like laptop. And I was like, oh, my God, okay, now this is actually happening now. And then she started going through, what we needed to do from that moment onwards. Still couldn't really hear any of it. All in my head I was thinking is I now need to call my mum and dad. So they weren't with you at this point?
No. So I was only with my ex-partner, Jeremy, and Reed was there. So it was just the three of us. And, Reed was fast asleep. He was only a baby. I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna have to call. When I call my mum and dad, this is when it really is real. Like until then, you kind of don't really associate that's actually your life.
Yes.
And then I was like, now I have to call my mum, and that's gonna be a nightmare.
And this is like a nightmare for any parent to hear, let alone at 21 years old.
Yeah. And I was worried more. It sounds stupid, but at the time I was more worried about what my mum and dad were gonna feel because, again, I'm their baby and we're so close, and I was like, they're gonna really struggle with that news.
And I guess it's a moment where oh my goodness, my life's not only has my baby's life changed, my life's changed, and it's life changing for your parents as well.
Well, we had no idea what was going to happen because she did say, this is a really bad tumour, so we could be looking at 3 months. We don't see this, like he had a 2% chance of survival. So this was like, we were more so looking down like palliative care route. It wasn't particularly ever meant to. He was never really ever meant to survive any of this. So when we go in hospital now and he sees the doctors initially that he saw, they're all like, oh,
he's a fighter.
He's still here. Like
he's still here.
Yeah. So, And
how's he doing? So he's 4.5 now, Reed?
Yeah.
4.5.
4.5.
How's he doing today?
So actually it's with Reed, it's a roller coaster. 1 week he's good, 1 week he's a little bit bad. Like you kind of just take it as it is. You don't really try and think too much into his behaviour. The last week, so like he has seizures normally every single day. That's just been how it's been the whole time since surgery, which is just our normal now, which is sad to say, but it is. But so he went like 4 days without a seizure recently, which was like,
without one, you said. Okay.
Yeah. And we're like,
good.
We don't know why, but we're just going to take it as a win. We sort of, when you have a kid like Reed, you just take all the small wins. Like it's not about the big things. It's like, oh my God, he's, smiled or he's, not had a seizure or this or the other. Things that you wouldn't even think about. Yes. It's like a really good thing.
Yeah.
So.
And so because I'm just thinking, did the hospitals teach you how to manage those seizures or did the doctors teach you how to manage that? Or where do you learn that sort of stuff from?
I don't even know.
As a girl in your 20s?
Yeah. You don't get taught because Reed, the thing I've learned about him is there's no other Reed. And they've said that, not even worldwide. There's not another child that has gone through exactly what he has gone through and has the same side effects and the same issues now. No one. So there's nothing to compare to. No. You're not like in an umbrella, say, if your child had like Down syndrome or cerebral palsy, like obviously every child's different, but you kind of have like an umbrella of people you can kind of lean on and ask questions and stuff like that. With Reed, there's no other child that's the
nothing
same.
Where you can research and look up.
There's nothing to compare. So you just sort of got to go with it. And like when it comes to learning about him, every day you've just got to kind of be onto it. The doctors, even they can't explain sometimes why he does certain things. So you just kind of go with it.
And I guess as his mother, you naturally develop that mother instinct to just know.
Yeah, I remember before I had him, I was always like really concerned, obviously being a young mum. Will I have that connection? Will I know exactly, everything? But like him being non-verbal has taught me so much more because it's like without him even telling me, I know exactly what he needs. Like it's crazy. And I never thought, like, when you hear people say that, you're like, but how do you know? It's like, I don't know, you just do. There's a connection, a different sort of connection with a child that has disabilities.
Yes.
So.
And so what kind of, I know you said every day with Reed is different. What kind of, I guess, what are your biggest challenges that you faced in the last sort of 4 years? Were those challenges more so relevant in the early days when he was a baby? Or what are some of the sort of the big things that you've gone through?
I feel like it's changed a lot. So the challenges have changed constantly in terms of like initially it was like the biggest challenges were the lifestyle change. Obviously, you go from having a normal life to then you're thrown in hospital. We didn't leave the hospital for nearly a year. So that was a massive challenge of like navigating how are we going to pay a mortgage? How are we going to, do things that need to keep going on in the background, meanwhile looking after a child that's essentially in palliative care.
Yeah.
And then it went from the challenge of then, okay, he's stable enough to be transferred back into living back at home. How the hell do I look after a child that's on machines and tubes and this, that and the other without nurses and doctors there all the time? So you have to learn again.
Yes.
And then it changes again when he's like, okay, now he's getting bigger and we need accessible housing and we need bigger wheelchairs and I'm only petite and I have a 20-kilo baby, essentially I need to pick him up and
making sure he's comfortable at home, and as he grows and as you get your life gets goes on and new experiences happen, you have to adapt to that as well.
I think the challenges are the constant changing as well. Like you can't ever really get comfortable because then something else happens. Like, we got to a point where he was really good with these seizures and then it went really bad and then you were in hospital again. You kind of are always on that limbo and like he's for the rest of his life, I will essentially be his carer, which is a massive challenge. I'm only in my, mid-20s and it's like, so normally people have babies young and they go, oh, but by the time they're 18, I'm done, I'm good.
You're already thinking about the future and thinking, okay, well, I know at this stage of my life I'm going to be focusing on this, whereas I guess yours is totally unknown.
Yeah, mine's completely unknown. Like he wasn't meant to survive this far. So now that we've gotten this far, it's like we have there's no book on it. There's there's no book on any child, but this one is like.
Have you also found, like, I guess as a parent, you always put your kids first, but it's really kind of put your life on this back burner?
Yeah.
Anything that you had in your mind, like how's it affected your plans to travel or plans to, have even potentially more kids? And
is that
all things that you think about?
Yeah, like I think initially it was such a massive change. I went from having my whole life ahead of me and I was so young, he was a baby, we could go travelling, as a family and all these things, and obviously I then couldn't work. I've only recently gone back to work because he's at the point where I can leave him. So I didn't work for 4 years. I literally had to put everything of myself backwards because I had no time.
And he became your priority.
He was my whole world, so it has made a massive difference in that aspect. And then with the whole children thing, the fear of whether or not this would happen again, am I going to end up with another child with, high needs, and I don't think I can do two. Like one's so much, I couldn't imagine having two. So I take my hat off to anyone that has more than one child.
And are you going to be able to give the second child as much attention as what you're giving Reed and
will
that
Reed
he needs?
Then miss out? It's a massive struggle in your head of what is the right way to go. I don't think there is a right way to go. I think it will happen what will happen sort of thing. So.
And a lot of people that I've spoken to, obviously financially and work is somewhere that's really impacted when you do have a child that's suffering from an illness or special needs because all of a sudden you need a parent to be almost doing both. How do you make it income, but then also be there 24/7 because it is a 24/7 thing. Has that impacted you? Has there been what kind of financial impact has it had? Did it have not going to work? Did that make it hard in those first 4 years?
Yes,
and only going back now?
Yeah, so like I was with my ex when he obviously first got sick. So he gave up work for, I think it was about 8 months. So obviously in that 8 months we had no income. Luckily we had family support and we had done a GoFundMe, which completely kept us going the whole time, thank God. But once obviously then he had to transition back into work. And it was quite difficult. The reason he initially stopped working was because the hospital had said, these are such big decisions you have to make. You both have to be here. Like, you can't just do it by yourself, Jade. Like, this is like something whether or not, we're continuing treatment or we're going, it was massive
and
decisions.
It's huge. The hospital doesn't want you to have to relay that to your partner at home or vice versa.
Yeah, and I think as well, because we were younger as well, I think they wanted us to have each other to lean on. So they were like, you need to both be here. Thank God as well, my mum and dad were very heavily involved. My ex's parents were very heavily involved in, helping us in the hospital, which was great. But it was very challenging financially. And then obviously moving forward, I'm now a single mum, having to now, build another house that's modified. I can only work a certain amount of hours a week because I have to care for him the other hours. So it's a bit of a juggle, to be honest.
Jade, you are amazing. Like, can I say, I know that we've met many times before, and you have the most beautiful parents.
I do. I'm so lucky.
You're very lucky, and not many people out there are as lucky to have such a supportive family.
I wouldn't know what I'd do without my mum and dad. I really don't know what I would do. I'd be homeless right now. That'd be the first thing.
Yeah, and I know that you're even in the process now of building a home for yourself and for Reed, and that is so inspiring.
Yeah.
And where do you get all your courage from? Is it your parents?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have always been such a close family. Like, we moved here from the UK, just me and my brother, sister, mum and dad, and it was just us. We were like a little pod, and we just stuck together, and that hasn't changed. Like, people have come in, we've got partners and there's babies and everything, but we're like so solid. And they moved here with nothing, and I think they, it's not about materialistic stuff, it's just being happy. So, like, they'll do anything for me and Reed. Like,
Yeah.
I think they love Reed more than they ever love
That's
me.
Amazing, yeah. No, it's a grandparents, like different kind of
and
love.
It's just, like, their help is unmatched.
Yeah.
Like, being a single mum, it's, quite hard. But I don't feel like a single mum when I've got them around because they're, like, take on all the dad roles.
Yeah, exactly. They've taken on all the different hats.
Yeah.
And do you think that there are, like, what kind of advice, I guess, would you have maybe for whether they're young parents like yourself, young mums, or a bit older that don't have the support that, like, for your parents? Where can they find support?
Yeah. I feel like there is support out there if you look for it. Like, initially when you have a sick child, whether it's cancer or whatever, you feel like you're just in this dome and, like, no one else has ever gone through this before. You're the only human in the world that's going through it. But there is other people, and it really shows you how nice people can be as well. Like, I've met some of the most incredible people through the worst journey of my life. Like, you meet people that are willing to literally take the shirt off their back to help you out. And it's like, just use your resources, use other mums that have gone through this, use charities, use your foundations. Like,
and don't be scared to ask.
Don't be scared to ask. I remember when I first went into this world, I was so scared to ask for help because you feel like you're admitting defeat, like, I don't want to have to rely on someone else to help my family out, but it's like, actually, it's not like that. Like,
and people are willing to extend
willing.
their hand, and you just don't know if you don't ask.
You don't know if you don't ask, exactly.
And what are some of the most, I guess, memorable moments or achievements with Reed that have given you hope? Is there any milestones that he's reached, or it can be even little things?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one. With Reed, it's quite tricky because he does things very slowly. He's very, everything's very delayed with him. So because I'm with him all the time, you don't always notice them because it's more of like a slow progression. But, like, even down to, like, he's become so much more stronger physically because he does his physio like 2-3 times a week. His physio, one of the most incredible women I've ever met in my life. Like, the way she's with these children, it's like they're her kids. Like, it is great. So he loves going and seeing Rachel. But, like, down to, like, big achievements when he rang the bell when he was cancer free. Like, that was such a massive thing.
Yeah.
Like, a day again I never thought I'd see. I was emotional. I was crying. It was and then we had a huge party, a big cancer-free party. And
that's so
we
nice.
just always now try and celebrate everything. Like, his birthday's always very extra, and we always make a big effort because I'm like, well, it's again, but we feel lucky to have this time. So.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so good. And I guess it's so important for him to feel, like you said, he feels obviously very comfortable with his physio.
Yeah.
And there are other sort of resources that he has during, like, what's his sort of day-to-day weeks like?
Yeah, so he's got his support workers. They're all incredible. And then obviously physio, he sees an OT and speech weekly. And then obviously hospital visits quite regularly. So he now pretty much is like a frequent flyer at PCH. So everyone knows him. Yeah. But the doctors have become, again, like family. Like, oncology, we go see them every few months for his scans and results. You walk in and everyone knows everyone. And as much as it's like you wouldn't ever want to walk through an oncology ward and all that, the people that are there make you feel like it's a family. Like, you do. Like, his consultant, incredible. Like, I'll walk in the room and we won't even talk about Reed having cancer. We're talking about what we've done on the weekend before we get to that. But the people around you, unmatched.
Yeah, so that's obviously very important. So if you had we're talking to other mums like that are going through similar situations or other dads, other parents, to find real people that you can trust. Yeah. And that's something that makes a difference and that your kids can trust as well.
Like, Facebook pages were, like, my biggest thing. Like, I remember because you're stuck in on a ward, you can't leave, and quite often your kid's too sick, you can't really go and talk to the other parents. So even though they're right there, you can't really go and access that.
Yeah.
So Facebook, like there's like an oncology mums page, there's a Perth children's page, there's all these things that you can, you go on to and everyone shares their stories.
See, I didn't know that there was actual social media out there dedicated to help mums and dads.
Yeah, there's a PCH 1A oncology parents page. So I was added into that because, again, I didn't know anything about it. And then one of the other mums was like, oh, you need to go on here. It is the best. Everything's posted on there.
Has it given you times where you're in complete doubt or shock or unsure of something or don't know what to do? If you ask a question, does that give you that reassurance? Maybe other parents that have gone through the same experience?
Yeah, like I remember back when he was first diagnosed, the oncologist said to me, do not Google his cancer. Don't do it. You will end up like literally having a heart attack.
Did you? Or no? You did, yeah, of course.
Of course I did. And it did. It was the worst thing ever. If you Google his cancer, it says straight away, no chance.
Percentages and the worst.
It's literally like 0.1% survive 10 years. Oh. And so I was freaking out seeing that. And then I went onto the PCH mums page and I was like, trying to find some other kid that had what Reed had and survived. And I was like, there has to be something. And I found one. And I was like, oh, my God, messaged them on Facebook. And I was like, this might sound really weird. I'm like, I'm not a stalker, but my son's been diagnosed. But your daughter was diagnosed with 10 years ago. Her daughter was diagnosed with it. She's still alive.
Wow.
And obviously, again, they've gone through different struggles and, the brain damage has been different and things. But, like, just having that access of, okay, there actually is other people out there.
Yeah.
Like I will, and obviously because the doctors and nurses can't tell you about other patients because there's obviously a conflict of interest. So you've kind of got to go off your own back. So yeah, I kind of did a bit of Facebook stalking and found a lot of mums, worldwide as well. I've got people I contact in the UK and in America.
That's incredible.
We talk all the time and we have each other on Instagram and, you see their kids' progression and all that stuff. So it's nice. You do get a community. So
that's it. And I think for, like you said before, feeling so isolated, I think as a parent, it's about finding that when you go through something that's such a shock, finding that new community. Yeah. And it's not about feeling alone. Yeah. So that's obviously a way that you don't feel alone.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And what's sort of like a typical, I know you said every day can change, every week can change, but is there a typical morning, what does a morning look like with Reed now? Or a typical nighttime routine that maybe has completely changed or wouldn't be the same for other parents?
So normally our routine is we'll wake up in the morning, he has his medications at 8 o'clock, so he has 3 different anti-seizure medications, and then he has like water, but he has to have it through his peg in his stomach because he can't take food. He can't take fluid orally because he's got a delayed swallow from the brain damage. So he'll have his fluids through his belly and then he'll have breakfast and then we'll get him up. So, like, I have to, do everything, feed him, dress him. Like, he can't move. He's potentially, it's full body paralyzed. Fully paralyzed, essentially. So I do everything and then he gets up, he'll go to physio. He'll come home, he'll have his lunch, he'll normally have a little nap because the physio really exhausts him, bless him. Yeah. And then, it's like just down to the things that are most different, I'd say, would be the manual handling. And then down to the fact that obviously he won't be able to, toilet himself, bath himself. I have to, feed him, do all his medications, all hygiene, and then obviously, get him around.
So it's a massive physical change.
It's quite physically demanding.
Physically demanding on you. That's something that you wouldn't have had to have gone through before. That's changed massively. Yeah. And I know, is there, your parents have obviously been the biggest support to you during this time. Yeah. Are there any other means of support? Like, obviously you said through social media and speaking to other parents. Yeah. Is there anything else that's really you found support in?
I find I have had so much support through KCSG. So the Kids Cancer Support Group. I've met so many other amazing mums and I've gone through the same thing and they're doing everything they can to make other mums' lives, great. We do mums' nights and they've helped me a lot. So that has been, I can't thank them enough. And even down to when Reed was on ward, the pizza, they bring around a pizza on a Friday night and it's you look forward all week to your pizza on the Friday.
Yeah, it's the little things.
It's so, it is. And then they come in on the Saturday morning with a coffee and you just sit and it's like having an adult conversation, because although he was a baby and obviously he wasn't talking, he still doesn't talk now. So when I'm in the hospital now and they come around, it's like, I get a bit of adult conversation. It's like that, just human interaction is nice.
Human interaction and actually speaking to other mums about it and a change in your daily routine and your scenery. Yeah. And how do you find the strength to keep going through the tough days? Like, where do you get all your strength from?
It's a weird one, because you sort of like, people always say, I don't know how you do it. Like, it must be so hard. And it is so difficult. But I think as well, like, I've not known any different. As a mum, this has been my life. Like, this is my mum life.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one. Some days are really, really hard, but you just got to think, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
Like, he's the one that has to have the seizures. He's the one that has to take all these medications. Like, if he can keep kicking,
and he's a 4-year-old,
I'm going to keep kicking for him. Like, and someone has to be that person to advocate for him and make him have that life, because no one else is going to do it. He's my baby, so it's like I need to push for that.
So Reed's really given you strength through all of this.
100%. If it wasn't for him, like, I don't know what I would have done. Like, obviously, God forbid anything had have happened those early days, it would have been a completely different story. But again, you don't really know how strong you actually are until you get thrown stuff like this. Yeah. When people say, I don't know how you do it, it's like, I can tell you right now, if you were in my position, you do it as well. Because you've got no choice.
You've got no choice.
Yeah.
And what sort of support systems do you wish, Jade, were more accessible to people? Is it?
I remember initially the thing we struggled with the most was accommodation. So we lived in like the Rockingham area, and you had to be past Mandurah to be housed by Ronald McDonald.
Okay.
So we were kind of in that awkward zone. We were too far to keep driving backwards and forwards because he was too unstable, but we weren't far enough to get housing at the hospital.
Well, that's not really fair.
So it was really hard. We ended up, it was a really out of a fluke one day, walked around, because right near Perth Children's there's a cancer council estate right near the Ronald McDonald house, and I just walked past one day and we were like, let's just go in and have a chat with them. We might be able to get something just off an off chance, but obviously they're for adults, not for children.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the cancer council was anything over 18, and then Ronald McDonald's under 18.
Okay.
And they weren't meant to help us. They were like, you're not even in our department. But the woman we spoke to, I still remember her now. Her name's Karen. She was one of the most lovely ladies I've ever met. And she saw, obviously, me and my ex, babies ourselves, coming in being like, we have nowhere to live, because my ex was sleeping in his car in the car park. Because you could only have one parent in the hospital. So she was like, no, we will help you. So they gave us a little, like, essentially a dormitory room in there, which was just across the car park from the hospital. That was one of the things that made the biggest change and difference, because we no longer had to worry about where we were sleeping overnight time. Like, you don't ever think about these things.
So you were only allowed one parent in the dorm, did you say?
So you're only allowed one parent in the hospital.
In the hospital, okay.
Yeah, so overnight. So obviously, but we had to stay there together for make these decisions. So he was sleeping in his car for a little bit, but obviously you're not allowed to do that. So it was literally like being homeless, essentially, and you were trying to figure out where you're going to sleep the night, which is so crazy when you're trying to then think about where your child's health is heading, and then you're like, well, where am I sleeping?
And you need to be strong for them, and this added sort of stress is just something.
So I reckon accommodation was definitely, like, I wish there had been something more accessible.
Is there today?
No. And that's something I was like, if I'm ever a millionaire, I will build like an apartment complex and make it for like families. But it's just not good.
Well, I guess they need to figure out, like you said, for people who are sort of on that borderline and not past, did you say Mandurah? Yeah. But around sort of that area.
It was really
Where
difficult.
do they fall into?
Yeah, because his surgeon was like, you are not allowed 5 minutes away from this hospital. So we were like, well, we live like 45, 50 minutes. Like, we have to, like, so, yeah.
And if you don't have family that live in the Perth region, what are you meant to do?
We had no friends or family that live up here. So I was like, well, we have nowhere to stay.
Yeah, so that's definitely
So that was
hard.
the worst part, I think, initially, in terms of what resources I wish had been more accessible.
Yes. And so Reed being 4.5 now is obviously going to be going into school soon. How's that sort of experience been? So he was meant to start Feb, so like in a month, but it's been a bit of a nightmare because he has to go to a special needs school. So like has nurses on site, doctors on site, because he's so medically complex, which has been fine. It's just getting the funding for his equipment. So he needs a certain wheelchair to be able to sit certain hours at school, because what he's got now isn't
like it's not good enough for him to be sitting in for 4, 5, 6 hours a day.
So a permanent wheelchair that they keep at the school for him.
So he can have it at home as well, but he just needs something that isn't what he's got, essentially.
Right.
But getting that, obviously, NDIS, the funding, applying for things, getting turned away, it's been a nightmare. So he won't be starting in February because we still haven't got his wheelchair. So we're hoping to start him mid-year because I think you can start them like halfway through. But luckily, obviously, again, he's not going to school. Well, not luckily, but he won't be going to school for academic reasons. It'll be more for social and, you know, sensory stuff.
Yes.
So I'm not concerned about him being, you know.
Yeah. Starting a little bit later or anything.
It doesn't particularly matter.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that we have to wait because of equipment problems.
So is he going to a specific school for special needs, not like a school that has a department for special needs kids?
No, it's a full school for
I didn't know they had that.
Yeah, there's one just literally 10 minutes from where we live. It's called Malibu.
Right.
And it's got like hydrotherapy pools, doctors and nurses everywhere. It's like fully equipped for children like Reed.
So sensory focused.
Yes.
A lot of fun games and like oh, amazing.
So
that's really good.
I mean, there is a variety of kids that go there. You've got, you know, you're less physically disabled. Like it's a massive arrangement.
What year does it from?
I don't know if it even goes in year groups. I think it goes off of like where they're at and
that's
sort of
good.
stuff like that. I think there's like a lower and upper school, obviously.
Yes,
but then they kind of just pick. Obviously, you don't want like 5 extremely medically complex children in one class. You'd kind of, you know, you're going to pick some easier ones in between. So I think that's, I don't know.
And so there was just one school close to where you live, luckily.
I think literally there's one school in like Perth.
Well, there needs to be more of those.
There 100% needs to be more of those. Like, you don't realise until you've got a child that's in a wheelchair or, you know, a non-verbal child or whatever it might be, how little there is for that. Like, I take him down, like, a foreshore area and, like, they've got, like, you know, tiny bits here and there, but there's nothing really for these kids that are in wheelchairs. Like, it's not easy.
No, but I don't know why.
Oh, I wish there was just, like, a playground. Every, you know, few kilometres where they had something, even like just a swing. Like we don't have anything anymore. Like there was one in Mandurah where there was a wheelchair swing, but you can never get on it because it's always broken or something. And
so do you think there needs to be more funding and more changes geared towards children with special needs?
I think in the community there needs to be more money put into having things for kids in wheelchairs because it is so difficult trying to make, because you want them to experience as much normal stuff.
And
but they can't.
Yeah, and you said that like the funding, you didn't get funding for his wheelchairs at the school.
So you get like an umbrella of funding.
Okay.
And you've then obviously got to allocate where it goes each year. Okay. And so unfortunately his funding didn't go towards his chair this year, so we had to like wait and then apply for like a reassessment. NDIS is very difficult to deal with because there's so many things you have to do to get a piece of equipment. So you have to go through like 3 trials, try 3 different things. You have to do like all these things before you even get it.
Yes. And do you think that like GoFundMe pages, is this where they can help, these GoFundMe pages, or is there any other besides the NDIS, other funding, I guess, channels out there? Or is it just the NDIS?
I think it's just NDIS. And like that's, I think, where people struggle a lot because navigating NDIS is really difficult. Plus then you can get approved for a piece of equipment, but it takes like a year for it to arrive because it's normally coming from Germany.
Right.
So you might have something, say Reed needs a wheelchair tomorrow. He might not get that until this time next year. And by that point, he might not need it anymore, or he might need a bigger one. And
like, and like you said, when things are changing so much, you can't look so much into the future. It's more like what you need right now.
So that's what I wish there was almost something like in the community where you could go to and like hire certain piece of equipment for a shorter period of time. So then like if they needed, I don't know, if your kid was in a wheelchair but needed some attachment for it or something, but you weren't going to need it for a long time. If you're going to go on a holiday and you wanted some like beach buggy or something, but you're not going to use that all the time, but just for a short period, you could go in and like borrow it and then take it back after a month. Like I wish there was something more like that, but they just don't have it, unfortunately.
No, and especially for someone like Reed who's so small and he's growing and he's going to grow out of these things.
It's just a waste of money. These are pieces, like his car seat was like $8,000.
Wow.
Yeah, like everything is expensive.
So these expensive. So it's all these expenses like that come up, I guess. Has that really changed, like you said, impacted you financially?
We haven't, thank God, had to worry too much because of you have to just wait for it through NDIS.
Yes.
But there has been times where he's needed something then and there, and we have to go out and buy something, and it's not cheap.
Yes.
But we haven't had to do it too much. And the hospital has been good. Like when you're under the hospital quite heavily, which he obviously was for the first year, they lend you stuff. But then once you get your NDIS, funding, they don't do that anymore. So you kind of, it's a bit, you've got to juggle it.
Yeah. And so how has the Build Now Foundation made a difference in your life? Like, I know that...
Massively,
yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for Build Now, home group, and I'd be, I don't even know, because you, are building my new home. It's going to be, Reed's going to have a lovely garden, and we're going to actually he's going to have a home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have somewhere that is his and that no one can take, and we're going to have, so many nice things for him. I can't wait.
That's what I love about Build Now, because everything is tailored to that specific child, and it's about, like you said, making a house a home and the family and Reed feeling comfortable in his own home.
Yeah.
It's those little changes, like you said, you've got to make changes to putting ramps throughout the house and having wider door frames and just making it accessible and easy to him.
Yeah.
And
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's just going to make our lives so much easier on the biggest level, because again, you don't realise how much you need those things until you don't have them. And obviously my old house, we had them, and we had them for such a short period of time, and then they're gone again. And I'm like, and you get used to it. And now I'm back in, living at my mum's house in I'm in one bedroom, and it's like, oh my God, now when I get into that new house, I'm going to be like, it's going to be like heaven.
Oh, that's so good. That's right. For you as well.
Oh, yeah.
What we found really, I guess, since starting the foundation is how many people do want to get involved. The community are so keen to come together and help in any way possible. But then sometimes people just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
They don't know, okay, do I just look up on a website and make a donation? Do you, what are some ways, Jade, that people can help families like yours in a similar situation, other than, say, just donating money? Is there...
I think as well, obviously when, the Build Now goes in and they do the things like the gardens up for the kids, and they do, whatever they're doing to the house, just go, lending a hand with, structural, building stuff and helping families that are just going through it. When Reed got really sick, down to bringing food round, little things. We had people dropping food off at the front door and things like that. There's so many little things you can do that help.
That help massively.
I think little things are better. When someone says, I don't know what to do. It's just honestly do something small. Because sometimes doing the bigger things can be quite overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, everyone's doing all these big things and I feel really bad. I had people dropping off food and little hampers with toiletries and things that you're not thinking about at the time.
Not thinking of. That makes it so much easier for you just not having to go to the shops that day.
And vouchers. Vouchers were the best.
Really?
Fuel vouchers because you're driving so much, and Woolies vouchers and Coles vouchers because you just, again, you don't want to go to the shops. I remember having the worst anxiety going to the shops after we got home from the hospital, because obviously we'd done the GoFundMe page, so lots of people in our area knew about it. So I was walking through the shops and I was like, don't talk to me, don't look at me, I don't want to see anyone. Please just don't.
Yeah.
So having vouchers and stuff where you could do it online.
Yeah.
So much easier.
And just make your life easier. It's those little things.
Yeah.
So giving vouchers, or even would you say helps, I know you said sitting down with mums and having a pizza, or having an adult conversation. Has that helped you, Jade, mentally?
Yeah, just having someone to talk to.
Switch off.
Yeah, I mean, one of my best friends now, Shani, who's been on the podcast, her daughter Charlie, brain cancer as well. She reached out. She was the first mum to ever reach out to me.
Really?
When Reed got sick on Facebook, because she heard about the story. Yeah. And, we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
She's now, been Reed's support worker, and my mum looks after Charlie sometimes. So, you will meet some of your best friends in the worst time, because some of the best people the worst things happen to the best people. I really do think that sometimes, because you meet some lovely people.
Amazing people out there. And what are some things, I guess, how can the community better understand and support children with disabilities or terminal illnesses? Do you think that there should be, I know that I really strongly believe that there should be more taught in schools.
Yeah, I do as well.
I don't think there's enough education out there. How do you think there needs to be more education to the community, or through media? Yeah. Do you think there should be changes there?
I think 100% it should be spoken about more. I think disability is looked at as something to ignore a little bit. Especially children, they don't know any better. And I've really learnt that along the track, is they're very curious and they will ask lots of questions. And I am more than happy to answer your questions. But it's when the parents go, oh, no, you can't, don't ask. And then it scares the children like they're being naughty and doing something they shouldn't be asking. Yeah. And that's when there's a lack of knowledge about disability because people aren't asking the questions because they're too scared.
Do you think that parents almost don't know how to handle the situation, so they encourage their children not to talk about it because they're scared that they're going to offend you or say something 100%.
Wrong? 100%. I think that's half the problem is and I think as well, like I'm very thick-skinned. You could ask me whatever you want and I would answer it. But lots of people aren't like that, and I think that's where it's hard to navigate because you could ask me, oh, what's that tube for? And I'll answer it and I'll be completely honest. It won't upset me. But if you ask another mum with the same sort of issue, she might take that to heart. So I think that's where we're struggling to get, more awareness out there because people are scared to ask.
Yeah.
But I think in schools, I definitely think it should be taught. Like Reed had a nasogastric tube for 2 years, and the amount of children I had coming up to me and asking what it was, and like I would always make sure their parents were like happy with me telling them, but it's like they would love to know and they're curious to know. It's just we have to be able to educate them properly on it as well and not scare them.
Yes.
Because I think it is medical stuff scary. Like, when you've got tubes coming out of your body and you've got devices, it's like...
You don't want to be confronting.
You don't want to make them upset either and be like, oh, yeah, that tube's for water. And then them go, oh, my God, am I going to have a tube put down my nose so I can drink water? Like, it's not, you know what I mean? You've got to find the middle.
That balance.
But I think schools should definitely teach it more. And I think if there was more things in the community, like I say, more disability parks and things like that, the kids would be more aware that that is something that is that's part of life. Kids get sick, kids end up in wheelchairs, people are born that way. It's not something to like shy away from. Yeah. But I think as parents we need to, I think parents should educate their children from a young age on kids like Reed because they're a lot more than you really think.
Yes, that's right. I think there should be in all areas, like whether it be a playground, a cinema, a sports centre, a section or an integrated section even for kids with disabilities because then the more we just integrate it into our everyday lives and like you said, make it visible and to everyone everywhere, the more we normalise it.
And then I feel like it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And like you can't see it so it's not there.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's there, but it's hidden. And then I feel I will always be open and talk about Reed to my friends and family, anyone, strangers, about what he's gone through and how he is now because it's not anything to be ashamed of.
No.
He didn't do anything to get, he got sick, unfortunately, and that's why he is the way he is. And I don't want him to ever feel embarrassed of how he is because of what's happened. He'll be like, it'll be openly talked about.
I think
and
it
not
should
shied
be.
Away from because I don't want him to feel like he's a burden.
He's a normal kid and he actually is a normal kid.
He's a human.
Exactly.
And I think people almost alienise it a little bit, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
But again, it's because people haven't had that education on what it actually means and that they were a normal child once and this is what's happened and that's why they're like this.
I think that there's been so much in the last even say 10, 15 years of, in the media and education on say mental health and even bullying, but I think there could be a lot more there, but there really isn't much on children with disabilities. No. And the way I look at it is, yes, there's major challenges that affect Reed's life and the family's lives for sure, but he is still a normal boy with feelings.
Yeah.
And he's just going through a different set of challenges to all of us. And the more that we can, I think, treat kids as normal kids, the more they will feel
100%
part of the community.
Yeah.
And as they should be.
Yeah, and that's like my biggest thing in life is like I want him to live as much of a normal, happy life as he can. Nothing's going to be normal. No one's life is normal.
No one's is,
I want him to have exactly what every other child will have.
And the same opportunities.
Yes, the same opportunities. I don't want it to be he's put in this area and everyone else is over here. Like he needs, that's the thing with disabilities is it's very much like you're here, we're here. Yeah. And then trying to figure out how to get over here is really hard. So we just need to try and integrate everyone.
Do you think it starts at home with parents?
I think so. I think it needs to start when they're little. And when, there's books out there now, I've read loads of books where kids are in wheelchairs and they've got hearing aids and they're blind. And because there's not just one, the list of, disabilities and things like that is endless.
Yeah.
Kids, have all, loads of things that they could need potentially like hearing aid. Someone might be at school and be like, oh, what's that? It needs
and they
to
don't
be
even know. But
that,
talked about.
Young, I think.
Before they're 5, before they even reach school.
Because then it's not so scary either.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And what are some things that you wish that people knew about Reed and about your journey?
I think probably just that he, again, is just a little boy. And, like, he's a little boy that has been through some really horrible things, but that doesn't define him as a person. And that has just been, like, a chapter of our story. And it's like the story is going to keep going. And we won't let this bit just define us.
Define his whole life and his full.
Like, I will make sure he lives a very happy life. Like, if that's the last thing I do, it will be he lives a very happy life. And, yeah, he is, I think he can be quite misunderstood, but like when you really get to know him and make the effort to know him, like there's a lot going on.
He has, I've met him. He has the best personality.
He's gorgeous. Like he really is just like the light of my life. Like I don't know what I'd do without him.
He's gorgeous. Yeah. So I guess you wish people knew that it's actually, yes, it's challenging and it's hard, but he has made you grow as a person.
Oh my God. Grow up is an understatement, I think. I mean, again, I was a baby when I had him. I was 21. So like you at 21 just think, I'm going to have a baby young. It's going to be so good. I can dress him up in all these really cute clothes and take him to parks and mum groups. And then something like this happens and it puts your whole life back into perspective and you think, okay, tomorrow anything can happen. Like none of us could be here. Like you just never know. And I've had to grow up very quickly, and it's made me appreciate everything. Like I think when I have another child, I'll be a much better mum for been a mum to Reed. Like I think it will, I won't care about the little things or, they haven't hit their milestone by this point. Who cares?
So you would say Reed's taught you a lot. And made
so
you
much.
a better mum.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a much better person because of him. And like as much as I change the things he's had to go through, I wouldn't change him and I wouldn't change what he's taught me. I wouldn't have ever learned what I've learned from him from a normal child. Not to say sometimes I wake up in the morning and think, I just wish, nothing more than he'd get up and say, love you, mummy, or something normal. But I have learned,
Have you learned not to sweat the small things in life and and to appreciate the little things? It's those, like you said, little moments.
Yeah, like I think you just have to think, life's so short. It is. And everyone always says that and you think, oh, whatever. Yeah. But when you, especially like you say, walk into an oncology ward full of children and you think these babies have had their childhood ripped away from them because of this awful disease, like I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for myself when there's children out there like that.
No.
Like there's why?
Yeah,
like I've got, I've been given, thank God, a healthy body. So, I can get up in the morning, I can move, I can talk, I can communicate my feelings. Unfortunately, Reed hasn't got that, privilege. So I will make sure that I will, really enjoy that and
exactly appreciate what you have been given at birth, because there are other kids like Reed and many kids that don't get those same things. And you realise it's the old saying, you know what you don't know what you've got until it's gone.
100%.
And it's those things like, it sounds really cliche, but waking up in the morning and just breathing and having your legs and knowing that you've got working eyes and a working mouth and working everything. And then that makes you appreciate it so much more. And like you said, you look at these kids, like when I went to the cancer ward and saw the kids suffering with cancer before Christmas, it was a life-changing experience for me. And seeing what they're going through just made me walk out and go, there's nothing I need to complain about.
Yeah,
ever.
It really puts your life into perspective. Like when you have had a critically ill child, like I'm one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, when people look at me in my life now, they go, oh God, that must be so hard. That's really unlucky. But I sit and think, I've walked this journey with so many other families and they have been the ones that have lost their children, and I've sat there and I've watched that, and it's like, so I don't feel like that. I'm one of the mums that came out on the other end with a baby. Lots of them didn't, and like it's so you see things in a different light, because I've seen the worst. So even if it isn't great, it's still the best.
Yeah. And how do you think we can change perceptions and encourage more empathy and kindness towards children with special needs? I guess it's a little bit about what we were saying, education.
Yeah, and I think getting them more involved. Like I love things like telethon and stuff like that, because it goes to show that they're little people with their big personalities, and they, they're just like every other kid. They just maybe need a wheelchair. They maybe need a hearing aid. They maybe need some sort of, device that they can communicate through. It doesn't mean that they're any different.
Yeah. Do you think it's about making them feel special, like the way telethon does that, making them feel like a special person?
Yeah, I think
that they're loved, that they're important.
Yeah, I think it makes a massive difference, giving them that light to shine.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, like they're put in the dark for a lot of the time. So when they're given that, you can go and you can do this and you can be on a stage and be who you want to be, and they're like
showing them that they're loved by everyone.
Yeah, and then they're not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah, exactly.
And hidden away.
Yes. And is there any message you'd like to share, Jade, with any others that are going through similar situations, or any new parents that have just, heard the same news that you've heard or found out that they've got a child with special needs, any message you'd like to share?
I'd probably say it's a journey, and you'll never not be on this journey. Whether, you know, your kid could be cancer-free for 10 years, you'll never be the same person you were before diagnosis. You'll probably be a much better person because you've, again, been through things you could never have imagined. Also, don't ever listen to the statistics because I mean, sometimes they're right, but quite often they're not.
And they're just statistics. Yeah, that's all they are.
And your child isn't just a statistic. Reed was given 2% chance of survival, and that was the worst thing in the world to hear. And, you know, you think that's my world's done. Everything's over. I give up. But again, he's nearly 5, and it's, you know, children are way stronger than we give them credit for, a lot stronger than adults. I think I couldn't have gone through physically what he has.
No, but I think you're very strong, Jade. You don't give yourself enough credit. You're pretty incredible.
But yeah, I think it's just, you just got to ride the wave and just honestly reach out to other mums and dads and families, and you're not alone. It's really hard and you'll feel so alone, but you're not. And just keep your family close because they're the ones that really help a lot.
Help not to feel isolated. Ask people for help.
Yeah. And just try and stick it out and you'll be fine. No. Like there's not much advice. Like, you know, there's nothing that you can say to someone when they've kids just been diagnosed that will make it any easier. But you've just got to
find the strength and find strength through your little one as well.
Just put one foot in front of the other.
And keep
That's
going.
honestly it. You just got to put one foot in front of the other.
No, thank you so much, Jade, for sharing your story with us today. We really appreciate it. You are so inspiring. Like, I'm so grateful to have spent a lot of time with you now and to get to know you and your little one and your family.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how strong you are. And I think it's so great having you on here because it shows people that with a positive attitude and mindset, what can be done. And I think as well, we sometimes underestimate, would you say, what the little ones, their actual power of their mind and how their attitude can make them excel and really thrive.
I think that's another thing is if you're positive, they feed off of that. We were like always a rule. If you want to cry, go and cry. Do it away. Go and take it away out of the oncology room because when we're in this room, it's party. It's party time. Music's on. We're having fun because he won't know what's going on, but he can feel how we're feeling.
That's
right. So let's just keep it light and airy and positive. And
celebrate, be happy, and they take on that energy.
Yeah.
That's very true and very important.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Your courage, your resilience is so inspiring. And I know that everything that you've offered today is going to give people so much insight into how we can be, it's going to be very, educate people, but also help us to be more compassionate and more loving towards these kids. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. If you're moved by what you've heard today and you'd like to get involved or learn more about how you can help, please visit the Build Now Foundation's website. Every bit of support makes a difference. Thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to sharing more stories that motivate and inspire. Together, we can help build a better future for these incredible kids and their families. Thank you so much, Jade.
Thank you for having me.
No worries.